Something that online marketers love to preach is to build your email list. This email list is going to help you grow your audience, and those subscribers will eventually turn into buyers. Now, here's the thing. Before you start list building, before you start growing or spending a ton of money on ads, one of the things that you want to make sure that you have before you start creating a lead magnet, before you start telling people to subscribe, is to make sure that you have an offer idea in mind. And you want to make sure that it is an offer that people actually want, that they're ready and willing to buy before you start list building. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about offer validation and making sure that you have an offer that people actually want before you start spending all your time list building to an offer that potentially nobody even wants. You're listening to the Optimize Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Barnes. I'm a customer journey marketing strategist, and I help you maximize sales by optimizing the customer experience. So there are 4 things that we need to look at before we validate our offer. The first one is knowing your ICA and understanding them. The second is the urgency to seek a solution, so whether or not they want to solve this problem right now. The third is market demand. Is there enough people who have this issue that you can create a course or program around and scale it profitably? And then the fourth thing is to talk to real humans about this offer and seeing if it's something that they actually want in their own words. And if you reach the end of this validation phase and you find out, you know what, this isn't something that people actually want, well, I'll give you some tips on how to pivot. The first thing is to know and understand your ideal client. This always comes back to this. Every time I talk about sales page, landing page, emails, anything, I always go back to knowing your ideal client. And this is going to help you in validating your offer. Getting a clear understanding of who specifically is your ideal client and whether or not they want your offering is going to be key in determining whether or not your offer is going to sell. Where I see people run into trouble is when they confuse their target audience with their ideal client avatar. Your target audience is a much broader version of your ideal client avatar. Your ideal client avatar is one specific person, or the avatar of one specific person. So we have our ideal client avatar, who is in the middle, and we have a name for this person. We know their needs, their wants, and then sometimes we tend to we create our offering for the general audience around that, which is something that we essentially are going to end up doing. But if you don't have a clear picture of that one specific person in your mind, that one specific person, what they need, what they want, then your message kind of gets watered down because you're trying to target a general audience as opposed to that one specific person. So I have my ideal client avatar. Her name is Kate. She's 30 years old, and she's a wellness coach who wants to teach her clients healthy eating. She has a practice that's in person where she helps people with their nutritional needs, and she wants to scale it and grow her practice online rather than having to deal with one-on-one. So she wants to create a program where she's going to scale. Now, my target audience is online coaches who have a program and want to scale it online. But when I think about Kate and her specifically and what her needs are, it's a lot easier to create language around what she needs specifically. So before, I was kind of targeting online coaches in general and online marketing in general. And when I focused on Kate specifically and decided that she needs to create her offer and get it off the ground, her issues became the focus of everything that I was doing. So understanding that in her situation, her goal, her before, is that she has an online practice and she wants to get it online. She wants to go from having to do one-on-ones to being able to do a one-to-many. And when I think about her specifically, it allows me to see where her specific struggle is at that specific time. Now, while I do offer a lot of other online marketing strategy and tactics and tips and things like that, Kate specifically needs help getting her offer off the ground. She hasn't launched yet. She has some idea of how online marketing works, but she's not sure how to go from idea to that initial launch. So getting clear on my ideal client avatar has allowed me to narrow the focus of my membership. Originally, the Optimized Online community was designed for marketers in general to help optimize their assets. Now, the people who were coming into my program, I've designed my avatar around a lot of the the people that ended up joining the program rather than who I was initially setting out to market to, it turns out that a lot of them did not have an offer ready. And so in order to optimize an asset, you need to have an asset ready. And I found that a lot of people were struggling to get their offer off the ground. A lot of people were struggling to do that initial beta launch. They had a lot of great ideas in their head, but they never launched anything yet. And so I really want to push them into launching. And so I created Kate as an avatar of everyone who ended up joining the community. This kind of ties into the last point, which is to talk to real people. And while you can talk to real people in the validation phase, once you do a beta launch or a mini launch, that will really give you that better insight into exactly how to create that ideal client avatar and really narrow the focus of what it is that you're trying to offer. But we'll circle back to that. Let's go ahead and get back to validating our offer. The second thing that you need to have when it comes to offer validation is the urgency to seek a solution, meaning there's a pressing need for them to solve this issue right now. A lot of times we'll create an offering and there's no real need or demand to get that offer right away or to solve the issue right away. One of the things that a lot of people have issues with is their weight. And while a lot of people will say that they would love to lose a couple pounds here and there's not as many people who have that urgency. So understanding the demographic of people that really have that urgency to lose that weight is really going to help drive people to buy. This is why a lot of gyms offer memberships in January, because they all have that New Year's resolution of I want to lose 10 pounds or whatever. Or sometimes they'll restart the gym advertising somewhere around May where it's like, or April, where it's like, okay, get beach body ready. And so, there's that urgency to look good while you're at the beach. So making sure and understanding that there's an urgency or need to get people to buy into the program today. If you can modify your ideal client avatar or create something in terms of your offer that is going to give them that urgency and that need to buy today, that's going to go a long ways into driving sales, as opposed to creating a weight loss program that's good any time of the year. There's not quite that need. There's not quite that urgency. So build in that urgency into either your program or your marketing and get those people to buy today. Quotes. I'm doing air quotes on the camera and I'm realizing this is a podcast and you are not seeing me do air quotes, but yeah, today in air quotes. The third thing when it comes to validating your offer is checking for market demand. The best way to do this is to look at search volume. How many people are searching on this particular topic? You can also see who else is selling like a course or program similar to what it is that you plan on offering. But search volume is one of the best ways to kind of determine whether or not there is that demand. Now, there's tools and resources such as answerthepublic.com, but I found that recently Answer the Public is starting to gatekeep a lot of their information. So instead of using something like Answer the Public, you can use something like YouTube. YouTube is a great alternative for figuring out if there's market demand, because YouTube shows the number of views on a video, the number of likes, the number of subscribers that somebody has. So if you see that there is a healthy demand for your offering, then that is a good indicator of whether or not your program is going to sell. A question I get a lot is, how do we know if something is enough? Like, how do we know that there's enough search volume? How do I know if there's enough demand? Is there like an indicator? The thing is, it depends on your niche. Some niches can be super small, but have high demand. So if you have a small niche, but there is a high demand to purchase a course or a program around your topic, then that is healthy demand. Now, you could have a niche where there's a lot of demand for your product, but not a lot of demand to pay for that product. And that's a different story. So it really all depends on your industry. If you're looking for some baseline numbers, just kind of, I want to say, look for videos that have upwards of 100,000 views or more. And if there are enough videos that have hit that 100K mark, then that's a good indicator that this is something that people want, that people are interested in. If there are videos on YouTube that are if your videos are getting less than 100,000 in general, or if these videos are old and it's not something that people are currently searching for, then maybe that's an indicator that the demand is just not there. And again, this is just a rule of thumb. I would say if there are videos, again, my rule of thumb, and this is not an industry standard by any means, this is just me seeing what I see based on some of the industries that I've searched. If the top videos do not have any more than 100,000 views on them, then that's a good indicator that there's not enough demand for your particular topic. That's where I would go with that. One of the topics that I originally was planning to create a course or program around was how to host a K-pop event. So I've hosted a few in San Diego and they did very well. And I was like, hey, this is cool. Maybe I'll do something around this. A lot of people are asking me like how to host these events, how to make the cup sleeves and things like that. If you search on YouTube and you search how to host a cup sleeve event, the top video, the number one video, has less than 3,000 views. And anything else has around 500 views. Like it's averaging around 500 views. It is a very niche topic. So ultimately, I decided that the niche was too small. There are different ways that could have pivoted. We're going to talk about pivoting if you realize there's not enough demand. But ultimately, the K-pop event industry is too small for me to create a course or program around, and there's not enough buyers in terms of like people who want to pay money to learn how to do this. Ultimately, I ended up scrapping that idea and pivoting into doing something else. Now, before I get into the fourth validation tool, something that I want to emphasize is that you need all 4 criteria in order to move forward with a decision. The fourth validation tool is to talk to real humans and get their feedback, see what it is that they're asking, see if it's something that they're looking for, and listen to them in their own words what they need. Now, this is going to be helpful in outlining your course or program, seeing what kind of questions they're asking. This is going to help you create that offer, and it's going to help you with the language around your sales page and any marketing materials that you may have. Now, the reason why I emphasize that you need all 4 criteria is because if I had talked to these people who were interested in hosting cup sleeve events and I got all of their feedback, it's just great. I know exactly what it is that they're looking for, what they need, but I didn't do the research for market demand, I would have launched the course to nobody, or at least the 5 people that I talked to. Now, while a lot of people will say they're interested in something, that demand needs to also be there. Also, alternatively, you could see a lot of demand for a specific product, but then you talk to people and you realize they're really not that interested in purchasing a course or program around that idea. So it's important that you use all 4 validation criteria in order to make sure that there is market demand. To review these criteria again, 1 is knowing your ideal client and understanding their wants and needs. The second is urgency. Do they have this urgency or need to buy, quote, today? The third one is doing that research. Is there enough search volume around your topic? And finally, talking to actual real humans to see if this is something that they actually want. Take all 4 of these into account when it comes to validating your offer, and this will give you a really solid idea of whether or not your offering is a viable and profitable one. All right, now let's say you get to the end of this validation phase and you're like, well, it looks like nobody actually wants to buy my product. What do I do now? Some ways you could pivot. The first one is to expand on your original idea. While my topic of K-pop events was something that was a little bit narrow, I could have expanded it and made it a little bit more broad to include vendor markets in general, how to host a profitable vendor market. So I've hosted K-pop events, but I've also hosted vendor markets before, and I have a really good knowledge and baseline of what it takes to host a vendor market. And I could have expanded on something along those lines if I had wanted to, but my heart and my passion was really in those K-pop events, which is why I didn't expand on the vendor market idea. The second option is to pivot on your original idea. So a lot of people were asking me within the vendor markets was how to create the actual merchandise that I had for sale. So how to create the cup sleeves, how to create the tote bags, the prints, the buttons, all of the merch that I created for those events, and how to sell those online. That's something that I could have pivoted into. Again, my passion is not in creating merchandise for sale. It's something I'm good at, but it's not necessarily something I wanted to do. But again, that is just an example of how you could pivot on your original idea. And the third and final thing you can do is really just to give yourself a heart to heart. Is this something that you really want to do? Is it something that you actually want to do? Or is there something else that you want to do but are kind of afraid to do? So when I thought about what else I could do, what I really wanted to do was help people in the world of online marketing. The reason I was a quote afraid to do it or didn't want to do it or resistant to the idea, I should say, is because again, there's a lot of people teaching online marketing. But when it came down to it, one of my biggest passions is the customer experience and helping people have these positive experiences when it comes to business transactions. I saw that the market really didn't talk about the customer experience the way that I saw it. There's a reason why my vendor markets have always done so well. There's a reason why my K-pop events have always done so well. And it's because of the customer experience. It's also an area that I worked in prior to doing vendor markets. And I've been in customer service. I've worked on customer service in the online world. I've built member experiences for people. And it's something that I saw was this follow through between everything that I did is I always made sure that the customer had a positive experience at the end of the day. So when it came to marketing, I realized that was why what I do always works so well. So I've worked in different industries. I've worked in design, I've worked in photography, I've worked in online business and, also events. And I saw that the one thing that kind of tied everything together was my conscientiousness of what it's like for the end user, what it's like for the customer, what it's like for the buyer. And I decided, you know what? Nobody's really teaching this. This is something that I am passionate about and something that I could teach other people how to do. So while I teach under the umbrella of online marketing, I saw that there was a way to teach online marketing through the lens of the customer experience. It was a unique way of sharing my expertise and knowledge. And it was something that I loved, something that I was passionate about. And so that's how this came about, the Optimized Online Marketing Podcast, as well as the Optimized Online Community. Again, while it's targeting people who are in the online marketing space, I wanted to bring my expertise around the customer experience. All right, so there you have it. You have my 4 different criteria for validating your topic or online offering, as well as 3 different ways that you can pivot if you need to do so. All right, that is it today, my friends. I hope you found this episode valuable. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram and let me know what you thought. You can DM me at Stacey Barnes CO. Again, STACYBARNESCO on Instagram. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you next time. Take care.